Welcome to the Spin Axis Podcast. I'm Erik Barzeski.
I'm Jayson Nickol.
I'm Tyson Deskins.
All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about the 5 reasons that you could hit a shank. Maybe. I had a student of mine who went from someone shanking, possibly quitting the game of golf, to being a single-digit handicap, and this sort of brought up the question within us of like, what are the 5 reasons or 4 that you hit shanks on the golf course?
Erik, what's number 1 in your mind?
Number 1 in my mind, sometimes I think this is overlooked. These are not in order. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
They're not in order. We just listed 5. Consider them bullet points. Well, we listed 4. That's why we're joking.
Solid 4. Yeah. We got a solid 4.
But we have a solid 4, and we might get to 5 if one of us has some inspiration during this recording. But one of the reasons is just simple hand-eye coordination. Just simply going, oh, I need to try to feel like I hit it out toward the toe a little bit. Sometimes that's it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've all had golfers that are like, I'm shanking a lot of shots. And we look at them and we don't really see much wrong or much different from 2 weeks ago when they were last with us and sometimes you just be like, okay, hit one out of the toe. And you could do some things where you put a tee down just outside of the golf ball and say, don't hit the tee, but hit the golf ball. That way they have to, the handle has to be a little bit lower, or they have to deliver the club head a little bit farther in toward their body, takes the hosel away from the golf ball. And then if they don't hit the tee, and if they keep hitting the tee, then you're like, dude, just stop hitting the tee. And that's what I mean by hand-eye coordination. Sometimes it's that. Agreed?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
I've done the opposite of that, where you put the tee on the inside of the ball, and then you ask them just to hit the tee.
Yep.
And then they clip the tee, but then clip the ball. And then all of a sudden it triggers in their brain like, oh, okay, that's where I need to feel like I'm trying to swing. All right, perfect. Same outcome.
I literally have them set up to the ball and tell them to swing and miss on the inside. Like, can you actually miss the golf ball? And you'll be surprised at how many people can't miss the ball when they're trying to miss the ball. And, it sort of opens your eyes a little bit. So for sure, hand-eye coordination's massive.
Yeah, the first time I was running my winter junior program 10 years ago or whatever the first time I did it was, I thought I was being clever, and I was the first week was just all testing to see like where they were, what kind of skills they had. So I had them put 3 balls down about a little bit more than a club head width apart, and they had to address the middle ball, and then they had to hit the middle ball, and then they had to address the space of the middle ball. Actually, I had them put the ball back again. I had them address the middle ball again, but then they knew before they were going to swing, they had to hit the inside ball. And one of the players hit the middle ball again. And I said, no, hit the inside ball, but set up to the middle one. And she said, I was trying to. I said, oh, okay. And then I said, okay, now on this one, you're going to hit the outside ball. And she hit the middle ball.
Very consistent.
So I was like, oh boy, this was not
Fail.
Maybe the best test for your self-esteem here.
Yes.
But sometimes it's just a hand-eye coordination test. So, for example, Tyson, you said just miss the ball to the inside. If the people can do that, then they clearly can coordinate something.
That's right.
To change where the club head is delivered to the ball. So sometimes it's just that.
Like, I don't think a lot of times people just are spatially aware of where the club is because they've never thought to think about spatially where it is. They're just trying to hit the ball, and they feel like they're actually doing something wrong when in reality, you're 10 millimeters away from hitting a great shot. Sometimes you can't see millimeters on a video, as you said earlier, Erik, right? Like those players that it's like, man, you're not doing anything different. You're just 10 millimeters towards the heel.
Yeah.
What's another reason though? Because I don't think we would say that that's the most common reason we see people coming in saying, I'm hitting a bunch of shanks, help me.
Yeah. The most common for me is going to be that the face is too open. It leads into the face being behind the mass of the club. And what I mean by that is when someone's face is so open as they're coming down, they can feel the mass of the club face, but it's behind the hosel. And so they bring that mass directly into the golf ball. And it is, it's something to be beheld when they constantly hit that, and you watch like 3 of them, and you're like, now you're almost afraid for your studio. You're just like, these balls can literally go anywhere. It's not like that like little clank. It's like oh my god, this might go directly right down into your wall or down the studio.
When the face is open, sometimes too they throw the trail hand at the ball to close the face, and that shoves the hosel out to the golf ball. That's all I was going to say, Tyson.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you were going to say also, but maybe not.
I was gonna add to Jayson's point there. Like in the bay that I teach in, I teach in the last bay in my studio. There's a wall. It's got drywall, and there's on the right side of the bay, and so there's a lot of ball marks on the drywall. And I always tell people when they do it, I wish I would have had the first person who did it sign their name next to the ball mark, because I'd have a lot of signatures on my wall. Because you will literally see some of these players in the transition, the shaft just start twisting 180 degrees backwards, right? As that club is falling down to the golf ball, and they literally will hit it off of the back of the club at times, right? Because the face is just so open.
Yeah, and for a lot of golfers that are trying to shallow the club,
sure,
there's been some real bad shanks like that, because if you are trying to manipulate the shaft without controlling the club face, that is going to lead to massive issues as you come down through impact. Just be aware of that when you're like trying to like quote unquote shallow the club by like, you know, flopping it back behind you and just leave the face ajar. All right, Erik, what's your next one?
I have a decent number of people who they shank the ball. So their fix for shanking the ball is that they will back up their butt. They will try to get farther away from the ball, thinking, okay. And often what that causes is more shank, because the more you tend to set up in your heels or in your ankles, the more pelvis thrust you have, thrust being movement toward the golf ball, thus crowding your hands, raising the handle, shoving the hosel out to the golf ball. So there's two sides to this. Number one, you can go toward the golf ball because you're back at setup. And so in some ways, the fix for that person is, if you want to do it dynamically, set them up way too close to the golf ball and say, how would you not shank this? Oh, dynamically, you have to actually get away from the golf ball during the swing. So that involves some left, if you're a righty, some left leg AP force to push their left hip back away from the golf ball and to try to push and give themselves some space. It's often the opposite fix for a lot of people. Now, I prefer to generally fix that at setup and during the backswing, because a lot of people thrust, even from a decent setup, they still thrust during the backswing. And the left hip comes in for a righty, the right hip kind of stays in place, and they've already lost 3 inches of space. Does the handle raise during most people's swings? Yes, right? The handle goes up some. But pelvis thrust, to make it simple, is one of the most common things that I see for causing shanks, because they just don't have the room. So their hands come through high, and it shoves the hosel out to the ball.
Yeah, see it almost every day. You know, you see the pelvis moving towards the golf ball with, you know, beginner golfers. You see it with scratch players. You see it with every level of player whose pelvis is thrusting out towards the golf ball. And it's you know, for some players, it's a really difficult pattern for them to shake, because they've learned to create power by sort of thrusting that body towards the golf ball. And when you make them sort of do what you said there, Erik, you know, create that space and push away, at least at first, a lot of them just, they lose that sense of how they generate their power. And I'm always telling them, I promise if you keep doing this, not only are you going to create a lot of power, you're probably going to create more, and you're going to hit it more solid. And as I said, I've found a lot of success, and honestly, since starting the podcast and talking with you a lot about that lead hip working towards the golf ball in the backswing, you know, I found so much success. You see so many players start that so early, and when they sort of keep that back, to me, it gives them a better chance of minimizing some of that thrust in the downswing.
Yeah, golfers just get behind the 8 ball so early in their swing, and then they just can't get back from it. And that's like that right hip in like hikers, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, right? But yeah, like you just said, Tyson, again, especially right-handed or dominant side, right?
Yes.
Most of your power comes from that. And so like as soon as you start working down, you're like, and you just fire from that hip, and it just gets so high and so fast and in front of the arms, right?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden now you've got this blockade of your right hip. Well, where are your arms going to go? It's going to go try and go around it to get to the golf ball. And then your hands shove out, and then, Shank City.
Yep.
And to be clear, your right hip should go toward the golf ball and toward the target during the downswing. You're not going to do yourself any favors by trying to keep your right hip, if you're a righty, back during your downswing.
No.
That locks up.
Yeah.
You can't rotate enough to rotate both sides. The left side, if you're a righty, has to go away from the golf ball, and the right side has to go toward the golf ball and toward the target. It's got to move that way. So we're not saying to limit it entirely, But most of these people have done the damage already at setup or during the backswing, and then they can't keep the right hip back enough because the left hip has already gone in so far. The right hip tries to take its place, which it should do kind of in the downswing, and they're now 5 inches toward the golf ball.
100%.
Building a great at-home practice setup has never been easier. Advances in launch monitors, cameras, training software, projectors, screens, mats, and more make getting some quality practice in more practical than ever. Tyson, Jayson, and I recommend you work with the experts at Carl's Place to create your own dream home simulator or practice station, as we've done in building out our academies and studios. Carl's Place experts will take photos and measurements of your space and optimize everything to create an affordable and awesome place for you to practice and play without ever leaving your home. As thanks for listening to the Spin Axis, you can save 5% store-wide with the coupon code SPINAXIS. You've got to write it down because it's not going to be published on the web at carlofet.com. That's carlofet.com.
It's funny. I shot a YouTube video of like the Tiger Woods, his little like both butt back little drill that you see every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that ruined a lot of golfers for a long time because that's not what you want, right?
No.
I just haven't posted it because he crashed and it's not in a good spot. So I feel bad. I feel bad posting it, but yeah, it's just like, that's not what you do. That's also not what you want to do.
Eric's got the hat on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's my driving instructor. See?
Yeah.
I've got the hat on. You can't see it on the podcast, but yeah.
To stay off the Erie streets.
Another one I see is path. And by path, just a bad path. Oddly, you can see it from both directions. When the path is too far to the right, they're basically shoving the hosel out toward the golf ball. And when the path is too far to the left, the hosel is already outside the golf ball and they don't bring it in fast enough. So the path in both directions, extreme paths tend to push the hosel into the golf ball.
Yep.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And
yeah.
I'll tell you this quick story of a guy today who literally he's one of my junior players. So he's in my monthly, program, and he's been a cutter of the golf ball ever since I've known him. He's now a senior in high school, and he comes in today. I'm like, all right, what are we doing for his one-on-one with me? I said, all right, what are we doing today? And he's like, I don't know, man. Things are just weird. And he starts swinging the golf ball, and he's shanking shots, and he's 12 degrees into out. And I'm like, what in the world, right? Like this kid has hit a nice little baby cut from the time I've met him. And I'm like, well, what is it that you're trying to do? And he's like, well, I just wanted to neutralize my path. I said, well, congratulations, man. You've went so far to the other side. There were times for this kid, because he's not the most athletic, that he would shank the golf ball because he was too far out to in. So he's the classic example of this kid has seen both sides of that fence now, that you can actually shank it on either side of that path.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember I was playing with this student's dad once, and he shanked one, and he's like, I was just so over the top, cut across that. Yeah. And I just like shook my head, and I said, what? Excuse me, sir, what did you say? He's like, yeah, I was so steep and across that. And I just stopped for a second. I said, are you okay if I videotape your next swing? He's like, yeah, yeah, for sure. And so then his next shot he hit, I videotaped it. And the dude was like Lee Trevino shallow back behind the ball, and then would get like under and then just shove the hands through the impact area. And I was like, you are the opposite of that. You might need to feel like you're swinging over the top. Over the top. He's like, oh man, I've never seen my swing before. Is that really what it looks like? Yes, sir. That's your swing, and you were not over the top.
The guy I played with, one of the two other guys I played with in my PAT that shot a radio station.
102 jabs.
He hit massive blocks and duck hooks. And after one duck hook into a creek or something, he goes, God, I'm so over the top. And I'm just like, we'll just let that go.
Yeah.
You could shoot 90. It's like, you've already tanked your chances, with your 97.8 in your first round. But anyway. All right. So Jayson, what's the last one? I don't know if this is 4 or 17 or what, but what's the last one we have on our list?
When the player gets out of sequence. So you've got sort of the kinematic sequence of events, and when a player starts getting off kilter to that can lead into some terrible golf shots.
Yeah, and I'll see this from both sides of the equation. I think the out of sequence, the upper torso sort of spinning from the top, or the lead arm sort of starting the downswing, that will sort of cause some of the other pieces, right? It'll cause the pelvis to thrust, obviously cause the face to be too open. This is an interesting one to me because I have a really good player, and he came to me at one point. He's like, man, I'm early extending. My pelvis is moving too far towards the ball. And, started looking at his golf swing, and he hits it really well. But you will see that his pelvis at impact is closer to the golf ball. And when you start to really dive in, what you started to see was his lower body was firing way too soon. Probably like at P3, his lower body was already his right knee was starting to turn. And by the time that his left arm was parallel to the ground in the downswing, his hips are 50 degrees open, 40 degrees open. 50 was probably a little bit of an exaggeration there. But I'm like, listen, you're not early extending. The hips have to extend at some point, right? You're just out of sequence. You're firing that sequence too soon from the lower body. So he was an instance where it wasn't necessarily an upper body out of sequence. Right. This is a lower body. And every once in a while, especially with a wedge, that would create a shank for him out of nowhere when he's playing a really good round. So the sequence is really important from, bottom up and top down for players.
Yeah. And the most common thing I think is I tell a lot of my students, I want you to feel as though your hands start the downswing. I will be very clear with them that they never actually will.
Yeah.
Nor should they. But too many people that we see get to the top of the backswing and their arms are still going back, or the mass of the club is still going back, and they're already starting to spin with the shoulders, which carries the hands out to the ball. And whether they tip back and really extend enough to kind of hit a straight path or not, they've got a high handle. They may or may not have thrust, but they've already taken their hands too far. They've used up all of their out that they have available to them. And so then the hands have to come down, and it's just a mess from there. The face can be open, the hosel's out and the high, and all kinds of stuff. And that's probably the most common thing you see from golfers. Just in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got a fifth one.
I think this is 6, but go for it.
Where impact is concept. Is that already 6 now? I'm 6, 7.
Maybe, I don't know.
For all those young kids out there, is the handle drag, handle shovers out there that are trying to get to that impact position that they think where impact is. And then if you just constantly push that handle forward and don't allow any of the braking force to kick in and swing the club into the golf ball, that can create a shank too.
Yeah, that's a good one too, for sure.
Especially on short game shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listen, I think one thing I will tell players honestly is I think every good player at some point in their sort of playing career will sort of go through a battle with shanks. I mean, again, we're talking millimeters, and it doesn't take much, to hit that hosel. It just doesn't.
Right. I tend to strike it on the toe. So I have very successful range sessions where I hit a third or half shanks.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, good. Not
That's
on the
right.
toe. Good. I did my thing in an exaggerated way. I love when people won't say the word shank, or they act like it's a disease that you can catch. It's just a shot that missed like by an inch. Like, it's just hit there instead of there. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
So just remove the mystique from it. Just say, okay, what's the solution to this problem?
Yeah.
And take it from there. It might be one of these 5 or 278 or however many things we listed. I don't know. It might be something else. Just go about it rationally, and you'll probably find a solution.
Love that. Jayson, where can people find us?
You can find us on all social medias at The Spin Access, and you can find us online at thespinaccess.com. And if you got the shanks, send us a message. We'll help you out.
If your friend have the shanks, up the wagers.
That's good. I like that.